Hello, and thank you for joining us here on the Neutral Zone. I am Phil Milani, joined as always by my trusty sidekick, my partner in crime. Really, the best way to describe this person's my everything. It's that Eric Dalala.
Phil, we've been in this room for about a month.
A long time.
Can we leave?
Yeah, I need to change my clothes.
Oh my gosh, it's getting ridiculous.
The good thing is that our hair looks perfect.
Well, that always
Yeah.
happens.
We bring that. Yeah.
You don't have to ever worry about that.
No. Unless it was that one episode about a month ago.
Right, that was bad.
Yeah, that was.
We won't
I
talk.
don't know
We
what
won't
happened.
talk about that.
Yeah, that's a great stain on this proud franchise.
Marred.
Yeah, exactly. Eric, today is our finale to our special 3-week countdown to camp series.
Wow, we
It's
made
been
it.
nice.
We made
It's
it.
been nice. Next week, Broncos camp gets underway.
And we'll be back live.
We'll be back. We won't
Kind
be
of.
live, but we'll be.
Topical.
Yeah, we'll hear from some players maybe.
Yep.
It's a big week.
It is a really big
It's a
week.
big week because the anticipation heading into this season is.
It's at an all-time high.
Yeah. The Avs coming off that Stanley Cup.
Man, it feels
The
like a month
city-
ago.
It does feel like it. It feels like really like a month ago.
Wow.
This city is ready.
Summer of George is
Some
almost
more-
over.
Yeah. You know, Eric, when I was watching the Avs,
Uh-huh.
when I saw them hoist that Stanley Cup, it reminded me of Super Bowl 50.
Did it.
And I was like, oh.
You want that again.
Yeah.
Well, let's go do it.
Once you've had a taste.
Let's go get it.
Yeah, exactly. And so there's expectations for this year's football team, and with expectations, in addition to responsibility.
I was gonna wonder.
Okay?
I was
In
wondering.
addition to that, comes probably some Pro Bowlers this year.
I hope so. Hopefully the Broncos
You know?
can't participate in the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, if they're playing.
Oh wait, is it? Did they move it after the Super Bowl?
No, I don't think so. But there's been some talk about maybe not even having
Maybe
a
not
game.
even having it. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe doing some other
Who
activities.
cares?
So, yeah, I don't know. You know who really loved the Pro Bowl? Peyton Manning. He took it very seriously.
Yeah, some good pranks.
Yeah, some good pranks, but took the honor of being there really, he took that seriously.
Who made the Pro Bowl from the Broncos last year?
Nobody.
What?
Yeah. I was as surprised as you were, Eric.
Huh?
But, that tends to happen when you don't play in primetime that much. Your guys aren't hyped up a lot.
Yep.
You've had 6 seasons without the playoffs. That tends to happen.
It does tend to happen.
Even if you have really good players.
I don't think this year that will happen.
No, the Broncos are back in prime time. There's a lot of, excitement around this team. Some young stars, some guys who have been there before. Okay? We're going to tell
Not
you
many.
today which player is most likely to be in the Pro Bowl this season.
Yeah. Reverse countdown from 5, or what do you think?
Sure.
Okay. I have a whole list here.
Okay, well, first of all, tell me how you approached it.
Okay, yeah, because you can't just. Thanks, Phil.
Yeah.
I like that.
First, that's kind of like,
Tee me up.
yeah.
I don't think you can just rank the best Broncos players.
No.
I don't think that's how it works.
That is not how it works.
I think you have to also consider the other players in the AFC
Yes.
with whom they'll be competing. You have to also consider how many spots there are for the Pro Bowl.
Yep.
For example, the Broncos have a very good player at a position where last year they only took one player for the Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
Makes it very difficult.
It
So
does.
that's the way I went about it. I thought about who are the Broncos' best players, what can I expect from them next season.
Okay.
Then I thought, who are some of the other players across the league, and I went from there.
Okay, that's how I did it.
Okay.
So you want to start at 5?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Number 5, I have Bradley Chubb.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
That's going to be very difficult.
You think so?
The thing is, he's a known name,
Yep.
being the 5th overall pick.
Yep.
He's been to the Pro Bowl before, so those are the
Those things
positives.
help.
Those are positives. But the pass rushers,
The pass rushers.
really good. Just even take the AFC West alone.
Yep.
Randy Gregory, for his own teammate.
Yep.
Okay. Max Crosby, Khalil Mack.
Max Crosby more of a defensive end.
Yeah.
He wouldn't count in that.
Okay, fine. Khalil Mack, would you count him?
Khalil Mack, yep. Joey Bosa.
Joey Bosa. I mean, this
Chandler Jones.
Chandler Jones.
No, I mean,
That's
you
just
got
in the West.
TJ Watt, of course.
TJ Watt is probably the best.
Judon. Or is he gone from
I'm not sure. I
Baltimore?
don't say things I don't really know for sure.
Yeah.
You like to do that.
So I've got him 5th because I don't think it's all that likely. But
I think that's going to be tough.
I do think the Broncos will be good offensively, which means they'll be playing with more leads. They'll be in prime time. There's going to be a lot of opportunities for Bradley Chubb to get after the quarterback in front of people.
Yeah.
In 2019, he only had, 2020.
2020, he made a
7.5 sacks.
Yep,
That's it. Made the Pro Bowl. To me, Bradley Chubb is the best pass rusher on this team when healthy. He's the guy that, if he can get rid of these nagging injuries, has played full seasons, whereas Randy Gregory has not done that.
He's not done that.
And so I do have more confidence in Bradley Chubb compared to Randy Gregory to be out there, to play a full season, to get those sacks. It really would not surprise me if Bradley Chubb ends up with 13, 14, 15 sacks this season, which, of course, that opens up a whole can of worms of do you pay him, what happens next as he enters a contract year. But if Bradley Chubb ends up with 13, 14, 15 sacks, he's going to make the Pro Bowl because of – I don't know if nationally there's the same – like in Denver, people are very down on Bradley Chubb in terms of he hasn't been healthy.
Yeah, maybe nationally they don't follow it
but
as close.
Even last year, Bradley Chubb had no sacks. He was like a 4th alternate for the Pro Bowl.
He had an interception.
But no sacks. He was still a 4th alternate. Lets you know about the Pro Bowl. Yeah. Or it might have even been 3rd alternate. It was ridiculous, whatever it was. But because he's a 5th overall pick, because he's made the Pro Bowl before, it's always easier to get back. So despite the competition, despite the fact he's been hurt, I think there's a chance. Or in my mind, he's the 5th most likely player to make the Pro Bowl.
For me, I said Cortland Sutton.
Okay.
Because I do think that Cortland Sutton's going to have a tremendous year. I put him 5 just because there are a lot of really good wide receivers.
Yes, there are.
Devontae Adams is now in the AFC. I mean, Tyreek Hill changes teams, but he's still in the AFC. So I think that there's a lot of talent there.
Keenan
Allen. I mean, there's just
Stephon Diggs, Hunter Renfrow, who made the Pro Bowl last year.
So I think that there's a stiff competition, but I do think that he's got a chance.
He's not on my list of top 5.
Oh, really?
Chubb he would have been 6 for me.
Yeah.
Chubb is right above him. I think in addition to all those guys that we named, and there's a bunch of others too.
Even his own teammates might take some stuff away from him.
The fact that we don't know, is Jerry Jeudy going to be Russell Wilson's top target? How pass heavy of an offense is this going to be? How quickly will things kind of get cooking? I'm just not confident that he's gonna need 1,400 yards to make the Pro Bowl and 10 touchdowns.
Yeah.
It's hard to make the Pro Bowl at wide receiver because every year there's another guy that just kind of jumps out that you're not expecting. They only take 4 wide receivers.
Yeah.
So to me, he's 6th, but it wasn't enough to make the top 5.
I mean, we're talking about 5. I mean, the same goes with Chubb. He's going to have like
of course
12, 14 sacks this year to make it.
But I think there's fewer people. Like, that's almost entirely dependent on him.
Okay.
You disagree?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, playing with the lead, he's going to have some help. They're going to have Randy Gregory stay healthy so he's not double teamed.
Well, Bonito could be over there.
Bonito.
I mean,
there is a little bit of a team dynamic.
But it's not a dependent position the same way that like Russ has to choose to throw the ball to Cortland Sutton.
Okay. Sure.
Okay, number 4, I have Justin Simmons.
Oh, okay. Ooh, interesting.
Yeah. Perhaps the best defensive player for the Broncos, but last year they took 1 free safety from the AFC. And so Justin could have a really good year. Like, it's hard for me to imagine he has much better of a year than last year. Last year he had 5 interceptions, a bunch of passes defensed. He clinched the game against Washington. Justin Simmons played about as well as you can expect him to play. Maybe if he gets up to 6 or 7 picks or something like that, then maybe that's enough. But he's not, at least right now, and maybe primetime helps, he's not the nationally, like a household name the same way. And so the only reason he's so low is because they only took 1 free safety.
Should I tell you where I have Simmons now so we can argue about him a
little?
Or should we wait?
You can tell me where you have him.
Okay, because I have him number 1.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I do have him number 1.
Okay.
I think that maybe more than anybody on the Broncos, he will benefit from being in prime time. Because I don't think people really know how good he is. So I think that he is not a household name. And like Kevin Byard was in Tennessee was the number 1 seed last year.
Yeah, but he's he's been a Pro Bowler for years.
Yeah.
He's been a first-team All-Pro. And he's a guy that, if there's one thing about Justin,
maybe they'll take another safety.
Yeah, they can
adjust.
choose to take 2 free safeties, 1 strong safety.
Yeah. It helps that Tyrann Mathieu is now in New Orleans.
It does help.
I guess Marcus Williams is now with Baltimore. So
yeah, and the Chiefs signed Justin Reed from the Texans, so obviously he stays in the AFC, probably with a team that has a better chance to compete.
Yeah, but in 2020, Justin Simmons made it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I do think that he's been there before. So he's like enough on the radar, but I don't think he's not like a household name where when people talk about the best safeties, maybe he doesn't necessarily come up, even though he is one of those guys.
Right.
So I feel like that. I feel like playing with a lead, teams might have to take a little bit more of a chance, or maybe just because this offense is going to be so much better, there's going to be more opportunities for other teams to throw the ball. I think that last year, like say you're playing the Chiefs last year, they didn't necessarily have to air it out all the time to try and be in a competitive situation with the Broncos. So I think teams are going to have to play harder on offense in order to beat the Broncos this year. That should help Justin Simmons, I think, as well.
Yeah, I mean, and this is not a knock against Justin. It just seems like there's some like Derwin James, when you play the Chargers, he's like involved with every single play.
Yes.
He's always around the football.
A different way.
Justin has been used where he's kind of more on that back end. He's the deep safety.
Yeah.
Those guys,
center fielder.
They're not coming up all the time to make crazy hits in addition to those interceptions, in addition to those forced fumbles. Obviously, Justin's a heck of a player and deserving of the Pro Bowl.
Maybe Ajira Evero has some other ideas on how he can use Justin like that, because he's a sort of a rare talent here that's on the team, so maybe he was underutilized.
Yeah. Well, and one thing that you saw last year, too, that would have to stop for Justin to make this is a lot of the times in some of these games, like the Baltimore Ravens game last year that was on a national stage, even though it wasn't prime time, the Broncos got beat over the top on a deep touchdown to Hollywood Brown.
Yep.
And so if you're watching and maybe you're a voter that you see 2 Broncos games and you're like, okay, well, I just saw Justin Simmons get beat.
Yeah.
More primetime games will help for sure.
I think that he might be that.
Really, it just came down to me how few safeties they take. It just makes it really hard.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why they don't take 4 safeties. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
If you're taking 4 corners.
Yeah. It's a harder position, but yeah. So I put Justin number 1. So
okay. So item 4. So who'd you have number 4?
I put Russell Wilson.
Okay.
At number 4. He's obviously capable of raising his game up to the elitist of all levels. Do you know what I mean? But it's hard. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, those were the Pro Bowlers last year. But Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, there's a lot of really talented quarterbacks in the AFC.
Matt Ryan is in a good situation in Indy. Derek Carr has a lot of weapons. Tua could take a step. Yep. Trevor Lawrence is in the AFC. It is going to be really hard because they take 3 quarterbacks.
Yeah. So, yeah, and Mahomes, Herbert, and Jackson were the 3 last year.
Right.
So I think that Russ can obviously play at that level.
Yeah.
So that's why I put him at 4, but I also recognize the competition's very stiff there.
Yeah, he I mean, say they pick like Mahomes, Allen, and one other guy.
Burrow.
Like Herbert could get left off, Burrow, Lamar.
Really good quarterbacks going to be
Russ. There's going to be 3 or 4 guys that you're like, how is that guy not a Pro Bowler?
Yeah.
So you're right. I
Did
think
he make your list?
He's 3 for me.
3 for you. Okay.
I think it's going to be really hard for Russ to make it. I do think the one thing that is in his favor is that he's made it so many times.
Yeah.
And when you get
8-time Pro Bowler.
9-time Pro Bowler, I think.
Oh, 9-time Pro Bowler. Sorry.
He made it last year despite, as you mentioned a week ago, not having the best year that he's ever had. The Pro Bowl in some ways ends up being a popularity contest where you maybe make it 1 year later than you should, but you remain in it 1 year longer than you should.
Yeah. Maybe that was what last year was for him.
Maybe, but I also think that Russ's brand is so big, and like a big part of this is the fan vote. I think a lot of people like Russ. I think there's an element of that where he receives a lot of fan support, and so I do think there's a chance. And so that's why I didn't have him a little bit lower. It's just, someone that's been in the Pro Bowl that many times, I think there's a likelihood that they find a way to keep him in.
That's true. Can I do my number 3?
Sure. All right. Yeah, I just did 3 with Russ.
You just did 3 with Russ, right? Okay, so my number 3. So I had Sutton, Wilson, and then now 3, Pat Surtain.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Is what I said. You probably have Surtain number 1.
I do have Surtain number 1.
Yeah, I could just tell. I got a feeling about you,
I love Pat Surtain.
Okay, here are some of the guys he's going to have to beat out. Xavier Howard, Miami. J.C. Jackson with the Chargers. Marlon Humphrey, Baltimore. Denzel Ward in Cleveland. Tre'Davious White in Buffalo. And Kenny Moore in Indy.
Yep.
So last year it was Howard, Jackson, Ward, and Moore who made it. 4. I do think that he could get into that. I think that he has the capability to rise up to that level there. The hard thing is I'm interested to see how Surtain is going to be used this year. Because if Surtain is used to just cover one side of the field, there may be a tendency to avoid him. But with some of the guys he's going up against, if he were to shadow a guy like, say, a Devontae Adams, then I think that he's going to see more balls. So then he's got that opportunity to really jump into that. But I do think that Surtain, being a high first-round pick, he's known the Alabama name. He's known, had a tremendous rookie season, and I think he's got a chance to jump up into that stratosphere with those guys. Obviously, those guys are some of the best in the league. Yeah. So the other thing that he's got going for him is maybe Jaylen Ramsey might be the number 1 corner in the league, or like a Jair Alexander, AJ Terrell, something like that. Those guys play in the NFC. Yep. So maybe that's another thing he's got going for him.
Yeah. There's a lot of really good young corners right now. Yeah. Making an all-pro team is going to be really hard for Surtain. Yeah. But if I was looking at a list of top corners, I think the top 4 or 5 guys were all in the NFC. Yeah. And so there is a chance here where
Marshawn Lattimore.
Yeah, where Surtain can beat some of these guys out. Last year, it's worth noting, because you talked about making the top 4, Surtain was the first alternate last year. Yeah. Which was the highest of any Bronco player in terms of how close they got to the Pro Bowl. His stats were better than Denzel Ward's last year. Yeah. I think that playing in prime time is it's
going to help.
A lot of the Pro Bowl it's about narrative, right? Yeah. And there's this narrative about how good Pat Surtain is, and I think if you go into a game thinking this guy's terrible and you watch, maybe it doesn't change your mind, but if you go in and you think Pat Surtain's really good, and then you watch a game, even if he's not, maybe he's just not targeted. If you're a voter and you say, I didn't see Pat Surtain give up 1 reception. Yeah. That's confirmation bias then that, this guy's really good.
You think he's good, and then you confirm it.
And then you watch it, and you're like, okay, well, he might not be covering Devontae Adams on every snap, but Derek Carr didn't even look on that side of the field. Yeah. Or, Mahomes didn't go to Juju Smith-Schuster or Mecole Hardman at all because Pat Surtain was on him. Yeah. Or Keenan Allen didn't catch a ball. Yeah. Those are the things that I don't think obviously having some interceptions will help, and I think he'll have some interceptions, but even if all it is that teams stay away from him, I think we have enough advanced stats now where voters can see how good he was. He's going to be on national television at least 5 or 6 times. Yeah. He was really good last year. I expect him to be better. Yeah. I mean, that's part of it too, is that people make a jump in a year or two. I think that Pat Surtain is going to make that jump, and
for him, his technique already really solid. Now the mental side of the game, where he could take that step where he's recognizing route trees, he knows what's coming, he's going to be able to jump some of these passes. I agree with you. I mean, I think he's going to take a jump.
And they're going to take 4 corners for the Pro Bowl. I just think that talent combined with the opportunity of being in prime time, who he's going against for these spots, I think he's going to do it. And I have more confidence in him to get a Pro Bowl berth than anybody on the team. And I also think he's probably the best defender on the team.
Yeah, I agree. Even though I had Simmons number 1, not necessarily.
Not the same question.
Yeah, exactly. So we got both our number 1 picks. Yeah. We know 5 through 3. Yeah. Does that mean that you and I have the same number 2?
Maybe.
I put Javonte.
I put Javonte as well.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, it's nice.
Harmony.
It's a beautiful thing.
As I mentioned last episode, Phil, when we talked about who are the top offensive weapons, I think this team's going to score a lot of points. I think that this team is going to be in the red zone a lot. And listen, every time you're inside the 10-yard line, you're not throwing it to Cortland Sutton in the corner of the end zone. Javonte Williams is going to get a lot of carries inside the 10-yard line, I think. I believe he's going to earn the coaching staff's trust, that he's going to kind of grab hold of this number one job, and that there's going to be times if they're on the 1-yard line, Javonte Williams is going in and he's scoring. And I expect Javonte Williams to have at least 10 touchdowns this year.
Wow. That's a lot.
I mean, that's Melvin Gordon the last couple of years has had. I don't know about last year. 2020 had 10 touchdowns.
I would say Melvin Gordon is one of the more talented running backs at finding the end zone.
Yep.
He's got a nose for that thing. And it's not just about bulldozing your way in. It's about finding a crease.
Right.
And he, for some reason, has those instincts. The reason I put Javonte number 2 is because I do think Melvin, I think that split's going to be a little bit closer than you do. But I do think that the running back position, he's got a chance here to emerge as one of the top guys in the AFC.
Yep.
I mean, the competition there, tough, but not. I could see him getting into that group.
Yeah, you've got Henry.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry, of course. Jonathan Taylor in Indianapolis.
Jonathan Taylor, best running back last year.
Yeah, almost ran for 2,000 yards.
I think so, yeah.
Was not offensive player of the year, so it just proves that running back can't win that
it's
award.
It's a sham.
Nick Chubb, of course, really good.
But he's got the same thing. With
Kareem Hunt.
Yep.
In the Browns, who knows what happens with Deshaun Watson? By the time we've recorded this, or by the time this airs, it could have happened already. But that team probably isn't going to be as good.
Yeah.
Austin Eckler, you don't know.
Yeah.
Najee Harris, Pittsburgh could struggle a little bit.
Made it last year.
Yeah, as an alternate.
Was he an alternate?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Joe Mixon in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Those are the guys that are kind of you would consider to either be above or like near where Javonte is.
I think Javante's in that. I think this year he could be in that conversation.
Yeah, they take 3 running backs, and so I do think if you've got 8, 9, 10 touchdowns, you're going to be in that conversation. It probably needs to go over 1,000 yards. Yeah. And that, maybe that might be a bigger issue in my mind in terms of if I view him as like this goal line guy, the yardage could be a little trickier. But I believe in Javonte Williams. How do you think
Javonte can improve from last year?
I agree with you in terms of finding lanes, being better at understanding where to go. You saw that along the goal line. I think there's also a sense, for me at least, of avoiding negative runs.
Oh, okay.
When you watch Melvin Gordon run, I think something he does a good job of is he might get stopped for 0. We're excluding fumbles, of course. But he might get stopped for 0, but often he's able to find his way back to the line. Yep. There are times when Javonte would just get stopped for -2 or something. And so to improve there and have positive gains, and then, of course, for his long-term availability, being willing to step out of bounds and knowing when to not take a hit. But I asked him that, and he was just like, no.
It's tricky because what makes him special is that he's like this. He's like a bull.
Well, I think you've just got to know when is the right time. Like if you're getting pushed by a lineman or you need a first down or something, or you've got to.
You're not going to take a blast.
If Marlon Humphrey's trying to tackle you, keep going. But if you're going at the sideline and someo's lowering their helmet, just step out of it. You don't need to take that hit.
Yeah, I agree.
And he said he wouldn't do that. I would guess that he will learn as he goes, kind of how to handle that.
Yeah. If he's going to get bigger workload, he's got to be able to change his game a little bit.
And he, we'll knock on wood here, but he did a good job of staying healthy last year.
Oh, yeah.
For as many, he was on the injury report a little bit, but I don't think he missed a game.
How about his blocking? Pretty good?
Yeah, I think they trust him there.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
catching the ball.
He's worked with Russ a lot, obviously.
Yep.
He'll have to show that he can learn this offense. Tricky for young guys to have to learn a second system in 2 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he's in good shape there. So yeah, I've got Surtain 1, Javonte 2, Russ 3, Justin Simmons 4, and Bradley Chubb 5.
Yeah. And I've got Justin Simmons 1, Javonte 2, Surtain 3, Russ 4, and I got Cortland Sutton 5.
And if I had to guess, like if I were just staring into the future right now, I would say that Surtain, Russ, Javonte, and Justin will all make it.
Yeah, I think that Broncos.
I think
like
4 Pro Bowlers.
What do you think about the only other guy I was thinking was maybe Garrett Bowles? He's got a shot to get back into that.
Yeah, with gosh, I'm forgetting his name now. My guy from Northwestern, Rashawn Slater.
Oh, yeah.
Out in L.A.
He's solid.
He's really good. He made the Pro Bowl last year as a rookie.
Yeah.
He's a good player. Garrett, I think, will have to show that he's, last season was not what 2020 was for him. He was not as effective, and so
that's why I didn't put him on there.
I think the play level to me would have to improve.
He was one name.
I mean, Jerry Jeudy, of course.
He's got a shot.
If he comes out just on fire, possible.
Yep. Randy Gregory, you think's got a chance, or he's got to stay healthy? Obviously.
Maybe he would have to do the same thing that Chubb would have to do.
Yeah.
I mean, that group that we talked about, I think, is kind of the core group that has a chance, and
it's almost impossible for McManus to make it just because Justin Tucker,
right?
He's already made his airline reservation.
Yeah. And I mean, in 2016,
impossible.
not possible.
Tight end.
Yeah. Why? Because of Kelsey.
Yeah.
They take. I didn't write down how many they take.
The guy in Baltimore, Andrews.
Mark Andrews. Yep. Yeah. And every year there's one tight end who just explodes. That.
Yeah.
Part of the Pro Bowl thing is Javonte could have 10 touchdowns and maybe it just takes another year because sometimes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sometimes it takes that year, but you look at teams that make the playoffs, they generally have 3 or 4.
Yeah.
If the Broncos are in position to win the division or they're in position to make the playoffs, they'll probably have 3 to 4. That Broncos team in 2016 had 6.
Yeah.
Despite not having making
they were
the playoffs.
Loaded with some established guys.
Right. So that's the only thing about this list is that some of these guys are newer.
Yeah.
And so you wonder. But
let us know if we forgot somebody.
Yeah.
This will be an interesting list to go back at the end of the season and look at it and see.
I actually think out of Surtain, Simmons, Javonte, and Russ, that Russ might have the toughest road there.
Yeah.
We'll see.
You put Russ
third.
I had him
ahead of Simmons.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. Obviously, this time of year, so much promise.
Right.
It's easy to get excited about these guys.
Of course.
But
you got to stay healthy. You got to be
luck
available.
Involved, yeah. And making plays in those games.
Right.
You make all the big plays outside of prime time. What good is it? Yeah.
Like Bradley Chubb in 2020, he had 2.5 sacks against New York on prime time.
Yeah.
That's all it took.
Yeah.
That was 1/3 of his season output.
Yeah. Is this show prime time?
Right now?
This one.
It always is prime time.
Yeah, we sort of bring it.
Yeah.
As if it was prime time.
That's
always. Right. The stars come out when the lights are on.
They've stayed on a long time.
Yeah. For this show, yeah. We usually shut it down. Okay, well, how did you feel about our Countdown to Camp series?
I think we gave people some things to think about.
This was a nice little preview of some debatable topics heading into camp. Of course, camp starts next week.
I'm excited.
You think we'll be in the same clothes next week or no?
Well, we'll just really have to see.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Hopefully we'll hear from some of the top names. We'll hear from Russ.
I think so.
Simon, get things underway.
Let's do it.
All right. That's going to do it for us. For Eric Dahl, I'm Phil Milani. This has been
The Neutral Zone.